Welcome back to Football Heritage TV. Today, news of another injury at Tottenham Hotspur. This time for our Austrian centre-back, Kevin Danso. And it's got people talking, hasn't it? Because it's yet another injury. And while there are some that like to play the world's tiniest violin, oh, it's us, poor Ange, Spurs, what are we going to do? There are others that look in and say, this isn't a coincidence anymore. Sometimes you've got to look at what's happening and say, is this self-inflicted? Is this us? And I'm going to read you something. We'll go into it in a second. I'm going to read you something before we look at the actual post. And I didn't write this, but somebody said here he signed for Tottenham, played 7 games of high line, open space, break your neck chasing back after attackers, and is now set for a spell on the sidelines. This person goes on to say that the Ange enthusiast will say it's nothing to do with him. But this is all to do with the ridiculous tactical setup, isn't it? I'm asking you, isn't it? I know, I'm sure when I put videos out like this and ask the question, I can give you my opinion. We're going to get 50-50. We are. But when you look at the back four this year with terrible injuries, Destiny Udogie, Van der Ven, Romero, Davis, Dragoshin, now Danso, this isn't normal. This isn't normal. And this happened last season as well. This is not normal behavior for a football club. Now, injuries happen. Let's get that out there straight away. Let's caveat, injuries happen. Of course they do. No one's going to go through a whole season without injuries. It's just not how it happens. But it's the regularity and the consistency of the injuries we get at the back. Now, this isn't normal. And I make it right what that guy said there. I know who posted that. I'm not going to say who, but it's right. When you play in this style, in this system, if you can call it that, our defenders spend most of the game looking that way and running backwards. Our defenders, the centre half, spend all their game covering the right back and the left back because they're never actually at right back and left back. Our centre half spend their whole time waiting for players to run at them. They're running back. They don't know where to go because there's no defensive midfielder. And I'm asking you the question, is this now self-inflicted or is this unlucky? Maybe you might be in the camp of, maybe there's a foot in here and a foot in there. You know, there's some in this basket and there's some in that basket. But it is a bit fishy, isn't it? Now, let's have a look what was said. So this is courtesy of the Spurs Express. And they've quoted Alistair Gold here and said that Kevin Danso could be set for a spell on the sidelines for Spurs after picking up an injury during Sunday's match. Now, I don't know if you remember, but during the game, there was a spell where I looked at him and went, oh, yeah, he's done something. He's not happy. Now, some people are saying it's a muscle injury. Some are saying it's a hamstring injury. I don't know the full extent. Hamstring injuries seem to be all the rage at the moment. But my question is, where does this blame lie? Because we can't just keep going with this theory, poor us, unlucky us, surely. I know that there are those that want to defend this manager and this regime to the hilt. I get that. I get that you want to die on that hill. I get it. But at what stage do you take a step back and say, right, well, this is happening to everyone. And now Danso is just the latest player, and he's only played 7 games of football for Tottenham Hotspur. And I feel sorry for the guy. And I felt sorry for this guy the first time I saw him playing a Spurs shirt. Now, if I'm not wrong, his first appearance for Spurs was away at Anfield in the second leg of the League Cup. Obviously, we had the 1-0 leg that we were 1-0 from the first leg that we were looking to protect. Then comes the second leg. And I remember saying during my live stream, this guy must wonder what he has walked into because we are defensively so badly drilled. It's unreal. And when I look at that, I just think what this means is no matter whether you're an Ange fan or not an Ange fan, with this style of football, whether you like it or whether you don't like it, it means you're always going to have a number of injuries. You're always going to have players missing because of the style of play. Look at the number of ball recoveries Spurs have made in the Premier League this season. We are top for ball recoveries. Now, people will go, well, that's a great stat. We're getting back. But it also means that we've had to have that many ball recoveries because we're constantly losing the ball high at the pitch. Everyone's out of position and we have to track back. If you look at the running stats, we're in the top 2 or 3, well, we were last week, in the top 2 or 3 for the running stats in ground covered. Now, again, there's 2 ways of looking at that. People can turn around and say, well, that's great. Look how fit we are. Look how much we run. But that doesn't correlate with the number of defeats we have and the number of injuries we have. And as Guardiola said to Jed Spence after the game last week, why do you guys run so much? Why are Tottenham running so much? It's like we never stop running. No one's ever calm. No one puts their foot on the ball and says, you know what, let's just calm it down. I don't mean you have to go slow, but just calm it down. Keep the ball, move it. Try and create, prod and probe. But what Tottenham do is it's either very slow, methodical passing across the back, leading us to be pressed, or it's gung-ho the other end. It's like there's no shape through the midfield. And let me give you an example of that, a perfect example of that from the game we've just played. Again, people will say, look, everyone knows there's no point me going over. You know my feelings on Ange. It's never going to change. This guy can't do anything at this stage to change my mind. It's the worst I've ever seen. I'm embarrassed of Tottenham Hotspur right now, just how we're set up. Now, no, that doesn't mean I don't think we will win games of football. We will. There will be teams that we beat. But in general, the volume of losses, the volume of defeats that we have is atrocious. So put that to one side because you know my feelings on that. But there are those that say, oh, well, it's not the tactics. It's not. It's not the tactics injuring people. It's not the tactics why we're losing. It's individual errors. Well, isn't that all tied in? Like Jamie Carragher said last week, the individual errors are tied into the tactics. And let me explain just one goal from the weekend. Just one goal explains it all. Pedro Porro was in central midfield for the goal that Bournemouth scored, their first goal. Now, what that does is 2 things. One, it clogs up the midfield. I want midfielders in midfield. I don't want a right back in there. I want midfielders in there. Second of all, what it means is the moment Pedro Porro loses possession, Tottenham Hotspur have a problem. Tottenham Hotspur have a wide gaping hole on the right-hand side of our defence or the left wing of the opposition. There is a wide gaping hole the moment he loses the ball. And what happens? Pedro Porro tries to do everything at a rush. Really poor pass, gives the ball away, and he allowed Kirkes the entirety of the left side for him, our right side, for him to run into. And he did. He ran, and he ran, and he ran, and he ran, and then a fantastic cross, non-existent marking from Jed Spence. We've got to say that. Everyone's loving him, but that was really, really poor defending. And there was the goal at the back post. Now, people could turn around and say, well, it's a one-off. The problem is, every single game Tottenham play, every game without fail, whoever's the left-sided players enjoy themselves. And this is something that many of us have brought up. I saw they did this last week. Jamie Redknapp and Carragher did a little skit about this between them. They went through and said, look how wide open Spurs are. Glenn Hoddle said, look how wide open Spurs are on Porro's side. And he said he can't believe that Ange still hasn't fixed that after 2 years of being at this football club. It'll be 2 years in a couple of months, won't it? So just under 2 years. And if I can see that, you can all see it. I know people will want to deny it. If you can see it, the pundits can see it. The opposition can see it because they all do that. Look at the week before, Poku. Now, Poku should have scored 2 or 3. Because look how much time he had. And that wasn't even because Porro was there. Spence was on the right-hand side that time. And that tells you it's not a player. It's not personnel. It is the tactics. The tactics don't have a right back in the right back position. Now, it's the same on the left-hand side, not as bad. The right-hand side, Porro is just gone the whole time. And what that means is People are constantly tracking back, sprinting back. Hence, the injuries come. And this has got to stop. So I'm asking you, is it Ange? Is it something to do with the medical department? There's been a lot of talk this year at Tottenham Hotspur about the medical team not being good enough. Changes within the medical department. But yet the injuries persist. There's talks that the medical team are telling Ange, don't play him, he's not ready, and that he's still playing them. I don't know. Grapevine. You hear loads of things on the grapevine. But it just doesn't seem right. Like when you looked at Romero, he did not look ready to be playing at the weekend. And then we use that as an excuse. Oh, he's just come back. Well, yeah, he's not ready to come back. So look, I'm going to ask this question to you lot. Is it Ange? Is it the medical staff? Is it the caliber of the players? Because all three can be true, by the way. More than one thing can be true at once. Of course it can. But when I look at other squads that have lesser players that our fans would turn their nose up, their managers don't seem to be this tactically unaware. These managers don't seem to have their players running around like headless chickens for 90 minutes. If we go back to that Bournemouth game at the weekend, look how high up the pitch we were caught for the offside goal. Now, yeah, they were offside. Fair enough. Look how many players we had high up the pitch. And again, where did it all break down? The right-hand side. It breaks down on Porro's side every time. Now, I'm not blaming Porro. Please understand what I'm saying. You've got Porro and Johnson in front of him. Johnson is absolutely atrocious at tracking back and helping out. And he's very, very weak. He can't tackle to save his life. He can't defend. Porro, not a great defender for me. Always caught the pitch. So you've got one that wants to go this way, one that doesn't want to come this way. And they kind of meet on the middle at the halfway line, leaving a huge gap down our wings every single time. So how does this get sorted? Because if we're saying that this isn't Ange, if people are saying this isn't tactical, then what is it? I need to know, because any top manager would look at this over the years and go, that needs to be addressed. That really, really needs to be addressed. And just a couple of examples for you here. Just a couple of examples. If you look here, so let's go back. Let's go back here. So you can see here where Tottenham Hotspur are about to concede down this left-hand side. We're about to concede down this left-hand side. And you can see that Bobby D. Cordova-Reid. Now, look at Porro. Wildly out of position. There's no right back there. Porro is in front of the play because of the tactics. So Bobby D. Cordova-Reid's about to go down that line. You can see there was the ball. Porro's out of position. And then there you go. You can see, look, that one pass took everyone out on this right-hand side. He squared it and scored. And it happened again for the second goal, where we lost the ball out here on the right-hand side. And then the ball goes into the middle, and we all know what happens here. And this is what happens every time. We're not set up well. We're not set up well. If you look here, this is the game against Aston Villa. This is the first minute of the game. Pedro Porro is circled here. And again, I'm not blaming him. This is the tactics. And where did Villa score from? That's right. Look at those 3 Aston Villa players all ready to go down the left-hand side of Tottenham. Have a look at them. They're all in our half, all ready to go. And that's where they scored from. So this isn't irregular. This isn't a one-off. Ange has got to stop that. So the questions I'm asking you from today's video, they're questions. I like to hear the answers. You can people message back and go, you're negative. Try having a football debate. Put the football point across. 1, are the tactics causing the injuries? 2, are we just very unlucky? 3, is it a mixture of both? Is it the medical department? Are we really poor in that department? 5, the tactical deficiencies in this team. Is it personnel or is it coaching? Let me know. Thank you very much. I'll be back later at 5 p.m. with Stel for Savran Stel Ask Us Anything. Really appreciate your time. Please like, please keep subscribing. I'll keep whacking out the content for you. Keep it clean. Be nice to each other. And as always, come on, you Spurs.